Hi everyone, it's Patricia Warby, Alchemy Therapies and my emotional audit here. And it's time to update you on what I've been doing to help work with more people. That was my promise this year, to find a way to help more people heal, and looking into doing online courses and in particular a group program. And one of the pieces of feedback I received from you lovely people was that the emotional audit program, which I launched last year, inspirational, it was called, but it's a little daunting maybe for some people to take on an 8-week course. And so I've created a little introductory course, which I'm calling Thrive, which is designed for people who perhaps don't want to go that deeply, or perhaps just want to get a taste or a flavor of what I do and what I teach and how I help people to heal. And so I'm actually launching that on Thursday, March the 31st at 4 p.m. UK time. And I wanted to take you through a little taster selection of some of the slides just to whet your appetite for that. So I'm going to share my screen now and take you to Thrive Live. Here we go. Now, Thrive is an interesting title, I think, because so many of us don't thrive. So many of us perhaps are going through difficult times right now, feeling like maybe we've just come through something really difficult. And so I want to introduce this new way of healing. So that's what Thrive is about. That's why it's Thrive rather than just survive. And this new way of healing is to look at what happens emotionally and to make sure that you take this on board and make it part of your healing strategy, because so many of us miss it altogether. And that's usually why they don't recover from long-term chronic illness, or why they struggle in life generally. So emotional healing is available to everybody now. It's not as onerous or difficult as you imagine. Now, it might be that you're not aware that you need to heal emotionally. If, like me, you think things are fine, then great. But let me show you that some stress and some emotional imprints are not as obvious. And they may show up in interesting ways. And here's one of the ways. You may be concerned, for instance, that maybe it feels like life is just too much of a struggle. It was for me. And worried that you'll never get to enjoy it. Is that something you can, resonate with? It's just like so much going on and it's so overwhelming. Well, that's a very common feeling, isn't it? Or you feel paralyzed maybe by feelings of inadequacy, that sense of, oh, I'm not enough for this world, or whatever I do, it's not good enough. That feeling of imposter syndrome. You're going to get found out at some point that you're really not where you should be, and you are going to be exposed in some way as not good enough. Or you might be finding that nothing works out the way you wanted or expected. This is another very, very common feeling, and especially in the arena of relationships, which, as we know, is one of the most tricky areas for us and tends to expose our coping strategies from the past, and that we may have been able to get away with in our family of origin, or we may have been able to convince ourselves that everything's fine, but then we get into relationships and suddenly we're finding all these issues. So if any of those or any other symptoms you may be feeling right now about your sort of emotional life might indicate that it's time to take stock emotionally and to learn what's in the way of thriving. Now, in natural medicine, which I'm trained in, we look at not what's wrong with you. We don't look at the symptoms so much. We look at removing the blocks that's in the way of the natural state of being in a state of thriving, which is it's your birthright. It's how you should feel. Not all the time, obviously, life is going to intervene, but you should be overall on the trajectory that you really enjoy and doing things that you love. And this course is jam-packed. It's jam-packed with really good information that I don't think you'll find anywhere else. And I'm going to give you free the slides for the course, which have, lots of information that you can review after you've done it. There's a guide to hidden stress, which I hope you find useful. That's a 4-page guide. And there's even access to a special quiz, which I'm composing to find out where you are on the thrival scale. I know thrival isn't a real word, but I've invented it. It should be. All right. So what's in the course? Well, a brief outline. Obviously, this is just a taster. There's a bit about me and how I got to doing what I do now, and why I truly believe there was nothing emotionally that I needed to heal, and how wrong I was, to kind of illustrate the story, really, how we can survive, but maybe we don't realize the full extent of what's happening to us. A little bit more about emotions and hidden stress, what they are, how they affect us, some of the coping strategies that we adopt and why they ultimately fail. And then at the end, there's a really special offer. And I'll come to that. It's going to be some money off this course if you stay through till the end. And just very brief, my story was that I was going along, I thought perfectly all right. And then in my mid-30s, fell ill with, well, various diagnoses: anxiety, depression, chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, would call it what you like. I crashed, and it was totally life-changing. It really turned my life around. And what I found out later on, after I sort of investigated various different ways of healing, was that I was chronically stressed. And I had been most of my life, but I was completely unaware. I didn't know, because it was the way I normally am. And how do you know what you don't know? And if I asked you, how are you really? You know, not just I'm fine, which is what we all say, but just to really, really answer that question, you might be surprised to find that you are feeling stressed, or maybe you're feeling down or depressed. You might be anxious or flying off the handle for no apparent reason, you know, really triggered, that kind of really at a teetering point. Or you might be suffering symptoms like fatigue or pain or any unexplained symptoms. And what is really the learning of my life was that these symptoms could have emotional roots. In fact, they usually do. And that is very shocking for many people, as it was for me, because you think if it's a physical illness, how can it be anything to do with emotions? Well, that is what I need to teach you. Emotions are not just feelings. They have a signal, an energy vibration, which is a neuro hormonal signal to the body that changes your biology. It changes the way your body functions and can create illness, particularly if you're chronically repressing your emotions, or your emotional balance is sort of off on a long-term basis. So, and the reason for this is it's very linked to your stress response system in the back of your brain, which is an ancient part of your system that's meant to deal with acute stresses. And but sadly, we don't live with acute stresses most of the time. Now we live with chronic long-term stresses. And so it changes the way you feel. So a lot of stress is hidden, because a lot of it doesn't just come from what's going on in your life right now, but it may come from unprocessed or unresolved emotion from your past. All right, things that happened to you that overwhelmed you can be triggered in later life unconsciously to kind of raise your stress level to the point where your body isn't able to adapt. And so you might only have the symptom, not the reason why. And this is why we struggle, because we're dealing with the symptom and thinking if we repress the symptom, that will solve the problem. But it's not the root cause. And there's another issue. So it's not just your childhood imprints, but we often have imprints of chronic stress from the generation before us as well. And this is called transgenerational trauma. And this could be your parents, it could be even your grandparents. We've now found that 3 generations at least contribute to that. So why is stress often hidden? Well, events from our past, which were not safe to process, like you didn't feel safe, you didn't feel supported, you didn't feel able to deal with what you were experiencing, are stored. They don't disappear. They become stored in the body as a form of trauma or adverse childhood experience. Now, I'm not going to go into depth with adverse childhood experience in this course. That's not what this course is about. This is very much looking at stress response in the body and what it does and how healing emotionally helps you. But it's definitely more of a feature of my emotional audit course, which is a more in-depth course which you have the chance to look at after you've completed this one. The other reason why stress is often hidden, partly it's because it's in the past and we don't remember and it's stored unconsciously, but the other reason is that we have these coping strategies which we adopted to survive our childhoods as an adaptation to stress, but it becomes so normal, like it did for me, you know, to be constantly on edge. You just feel, well, that's me. And you have no idea that there could be another way of living. And so we don't even know we're stressed some of the time. But here's the thing, our bodies know and they respond accordingly. So, you know, your chronic stress is present as a bodily response. It changes your physiology, your heart rate, your digestion, your ability to function in your immune system, and gut as well. So it's really key to how you feel and how well you can be. And I want to ask you a question. What type of stress coping strategy do you have? Is it like this chap here who's avoidant, you know, problem? What problem? I'm fine. That was me to some extent. Maybe if I ignore it, it'll just go away. Or you're the one with the problem. I'm fine, you know. That's a common strategy. Or like this lady, anxious, you know, oh, I need to sort this out. How? Who's going to help me? What do I need to do? I'll make a list, you know, very, very high level sort of arousal. You're feeling really like you've got to fix it. And then feelings of despair can come in when you can't fix it because it's not easy on your own. Why can't I sort this out? I've tried everything, nothing works. Those kinds of feelings. Or you might be like this lady, a bit disorganized with your emotional responses. You know, it's all just too overwhelming. It's too much to handle. So I'll just completely distract myself. I'll have another snack or a drink or a smoke or a chat or scroll through my social media or another box set to binge. And all of this creates what I call the toxic soup of conditions which affect your mind and, of course, your body. And because these emotions have physical effects, in fact, emotions are signals on a scale from, you'll see here, from the low vibrations of shame and guilt and fear and grief to the higher vibrations or expansive emotions of joy and love and peace. And these send messages to your body's cells. So we're electromagnetic creatures. We're not just physical. And they will send a message of either all is well and your body's in a state of healing and repair, or we're under threat. And this is also called the cell danger or sometimes the healing response. So yeah, we're energetic human beings. Why do you think we're called a human being and not a human doing? We have an energy, a resonant frequency, if you like, that's entirely measurable. Just because modern medicine doesn't measure it, apart from your ECG, it will measure your heart electromagnetic vibration, but it doesn't tend to measure any other organs or indeed consider the person as a whole. You see, emotions are complex and they're part of normal human expression. And they make us who we are, really, but they're not all the same. And we need to feel them in order to process them. And we need to do that in a safe environment to learn about ourselves and know who we are, to kind of know our responses. So why do we avoid emotional healing? Well, we think they're not important, or we've never considered it, like me, or we're afraid of them, you know, of being overwhelmed. Or we've learned to keep going, that kind of stiff upper lip idea. And, you know, modern medicine doesn't help us because it doesn't look at emotions as being significant or important. And even psychiatry, which is the branch of medicine that's supposed to look at mental health, leaves out emotionality. It tends to just deal with thoughts. We can be afraid, can't we, of being made vulnerable and that things will get worse if we open, you know, Pandora's box of how we actually feel. But the opposite is actually true. And in order to heal, we need to go through the emotion in a safe environment and learn to process it as over. And if we were never shown how to express our emotions by those close to us, usually our mum and dad and siblings, we never learn how. We simply don't have the emotional intelligence to deal with this. And so Thrive was my introductory course idea to help reach more people, to teach them this important learning. And that's why we need to understand why emotions exist, what they are, and how to process them. Don't forget, this is a learnt experience, you know, that some of us have missed. I didn't really get emotional training, as it were. And we got bad teaching, you know, we got either overly emotional parents or under emotional parents, or it was just completely missed out. And so we lose this emotional literacy or resilience. And we're likely to end up with chronic conditions as a result, because as I've said, it changes your biology. And so Thrive is 3 modules, mind and body, the stress effect. Module 2 is emotion and the changing brain, how emotions kind of impact your brain and create this hidden stress response. And then module 3 is about healing the past, healing the present, by changing perceptions of what you can do about that to encourage healing. So don't exist in a survival state like I did. Take action. Don't accept unexplained symptoms which defy explanation, and don't end up like me being told to get on with it or keep taking the tablets. You know, that's how I ended up. And certainly don't struggle in your life with relationships, because these subtle difficulties are part of your programming and it can be changed. And why does nobody ask the question, what happened to you? Why do we always say what's wrong with you and not what happened to you to create the conditions you're exhibiting? Or consider another way of healing emotionally. Well, because it's not easy when you're on your own. But now we have the tools the previous generations did not have. And so actually we can do this easily, simply, with connection with others, safe others, with the tools that we now have. And you too could move to a state of thrival, whatever your state of health now. And so here's the special offer. Thanks for staying through to the end. It starts Thursday, 31st of March at 4 p.m. UK time, and it's on Zoom. It's a 3-week, 3-module course on emotional healing with a live Q&A discussion with me at the end of each presentation. And you can find out how you've maybe missed an essential part of healing. If you join me, there's an exclusive offer here to people listening to this. The normal price of Thrive is £129, but from today, using this code, it's 99. So you get £30 off with the code Thrive, !live 30. No gaps between those. Or if you came to me from a Chrysalis Effect email, there's an alternative code, and you must use that if you've come from the Chrysalis Effect email, because that's a different code altogether, and that's Thrive, !CE30. Thank you. And a special extra bonus offer will be made available to those who complete the course towards ongoing work with me, that will make this course effectively free. So I'm not going to tell you more about that. You've got to sign up to find out. But it's a special offer that only comes to people who complete the course. So a few questions to finish. Can you afford to stay where you are? Can you afford not to make that commitment to your own healing? Join me now. Go to alchemytherapies.co.uk, select booking and find the Thrive course. I'll show you in a minute how to do that. For your £30 off, use the code. And here it is. Here's my website, and you'll see there's a bit here that says book. When you click that, you'll get 3 options here. Click online group courses. There's Thrive, book now. When you've clicked through there, you'll come to the booking form. You can even add your code in the add promo code here, and it takes £30 off, as you can see. So thank you for listening, and I hope you're able to join us. I'm going to stop sharing there. And I really, really hope you join us for Thrive Live. It's the only time I'm going to be doing every module live, completely live. After that, it's going to be recordings plus 1 live. So it's a unique offer to get in on the beginning, and to find out how emotional healing could help you. All right, take care. Bye for now, everyone. See you.